my creatives, and welcome to another video. So today I'm here to share how I made a junk journal with you, and this time I'm making a junk journal cover from scratch. So I have these cardboard backings from, I think this is from a paper pad that had some watercoloring paper or something. I'm not sure, but you know, those paper pads always have a cardboard backing, so that's what I'm using right now. And I am measuring out 5.5 by 7.5 inches for the cover and a spine that is 1.5 inch. But I made a little boo-boo in my measuring and I didn't figure that out until I've cut everything up. So the plan was to make a journal from 5.5 by 7.5 inches, but it became a bit shorter than that. But that was the plan. It doesn't change anything about the technique that I'm doing, but you will see me struggle with that later on. So now I'm just cutting the cardboard up, and later on I will realize. So also I got it not straight here, crooked, so I took a piece off, and that is why it became a bit smaller than I planned, but it's okay. So I'm cutting up here. You see that I did my measurements wrong, but I will fix that. So a fun little story about this journal. This journal was a part of the birthday mail I made for Seher. She is my pen pal, and I've met her in real life, which was really cool. And well, I'm always late with her birthday gifts, but I do have some good timing for when she's not feeling all too great and needs a little bit of happiness. So I always pretend that her birthday is in spring. Sometimes I buy stuff, but this time I really wanted to make her something, and that is what this journal is about. And I am using the ACdigitals kit Twilight from Canoe 2 for this journal, because I was just shopping online on ACdigitals and I saw this kit, and it was perfect for Seher. I knew she would love it, so I bought it, printed everything off, and made this journal and almost her complete package with this digital kit. So I chose 3 papers. This one will be on the outside of the book, and I will cut off the white edges because I printed them on my laser printer, so it has some white edges. This paper will be for the spine, and the last paper will be for the inside of the cover. And I will assemble the cover with you. So I'm going to cut the paper to size, and I also made a couple of boo-boos here, but it's okay, you can always fix everything. It was quite some time ago that I made a journal. Before I go any further, if this is too fast for you and you want a real-time tutorial on how to make a journal, I have one online that is for my personal journal. I will link that one down below, but that is a real-time video where I do a proper tutorial with all of you and I explain the sewing and everything. So I will also link that down below so you can check that out if that is more your cup of tea. But I didn't want to do another real-time tutorial because those are quite long. They take me quite long to make, and I thought I would just share somewhat of a tutorial process thing with you like this. It's still a long video, I know. So I cut my papers to size, and now I will start to assemble my cover. So I wrote on the pieces what's the front and the back, because I will forget, and I will be in this creative mode and just stick stuff down and don't remember what's the front and what part of the pattern paper I want on front. So after I did all of this, I will start gluing everything down with some Modpodge, and I kind of regret using Modpodge because it's a bit too wet of a glue. I think I will use, for the next one I will use gel medium or matte medium, because that's a bit thicker and not as liquid, because this wasn't too great for my paper. It did stick, but I think I prefer something else. So yeah, I'm just going to stick everything down and I will tell my story about this journal. Don't worry, I will not talk the whole 40 minutes of this video. So the story for this journal, I made this for Seher and I made her a big package, and that is what I wanted to tell you about. That is that I will turn this into a little mini series on how I created one big happy mail for Seher. So the coming videos will be about Seher her mail. I will make sure that I upload them back to back so that you will have a video about Seher her mail for the entirety of how many videos I have. I think 4 or 5. And I end this series with some mail art, and that is me decorating the box where everything went into, and then you will see the complete mail at once. So that is what I want to tell you. I will also make a playlist for that here on my YouTube channel, so you can go to that very fast. But I thought it would be fun to turn it into a little mini series. And also because I made some big projects, it's not possible to do all the process videos in one video. If you want to see what Seher does with my journal, that is also a possibility, because Seher is sharing her journal pages on her Instagram account. I will link that as well down below. I really love seeing what she's doing with the journal. She's using it. Yay, she's not hoarding it. I told her not to hoard it because I will make her a new one if she fills this one up. But she is doing very fun stuff in this journal. She's making art in it and she's writing in it. It's all like a catch-all journal for her. So I will leave her Instagram down below. So you can go check it out, what she does with the pages, because it's really cool to see how other people use their journals, and especially if I made a journal for someone, I'd love to see what they do with it. So I will link her Instagram down below for you, so you can check it out. So this is one of the boo-boos that I made. I don't know why I cut this paper so short, because I knew I wanted to fold it over to make a clean edge, but I made it a bit too short to do it properly. It still worked out fine, but it was kind of hard to do so. I tried to do it at first with the Modpodge, but my paper wrinkled and it didn't glue on properly. It did stick, but it wasn't nice to work with. So I changed it out for some double-sided tape. Also, because I know that I will cover this up, the inside, with another pattern paper, so it will be sandwiched in between. Because I don't really trust double-sided tape for all this, handling and stuff. I'd rather use some permanent liquid glue for that. But yeah, I'm just folding up the edges, and then I'm going to snip off the corners in a triangle shape. So that was a difficult word, to fold in the papers and that it doesn't bulk up on the inside of the corners. So that is what I did for both of the panels. And then I will stick them to that part of the spine. So I made the paper for the spine a bit bigger, so it would have enough space to attach to the covers. And I will also use Modpodge for this, and I really wish I didn't, because it wrinkled and later on my paper will break. It does give a nice vintage look, but it wasn't supposed to do that. But I was like, okay, well, that's that. I'm not gonna redo this. It's a handmade journal. I know Seher will love it and it will be fine. But that is what I meant with kind of regretting using the Modpodge. But you learn, you live and you learn. Also notice that I leave a little gap between the spine and the front and back cover. That's to make sure that the book will open and close, because the thickness of the cardboard needs to fit in there. So I leave, I think, 1/8 of an inch, something like that, as a space in between all the parts, so they can move freely and they can open and close properly. And now I'm just going to stick the paper from the spine also on the inside, because it will give a nice touch to it, and it will look very neat if you do it like this. So also I should have waited with this, trying to fold the paper, because it's wet, Kyra, so it will break. But yeah, I didn't think about some things. When I rewatched it, I was like, why did you do something like that? But it's okay. So now I will stick my inside papers down on this cover, and after I've done that, I will leave the cover to dry for about 16 hours. I would recommend 24, but I was impatient and I wanted to work on the journal under a stack of books, but in between papers, so the other papers, like the scrap papers, will soak up the liquid from the glue and it doesn't go into your journal. And I also put hefty books on there to make sure that it would flatten out, because it's turning a little bit crooked because of the wetness of the glue. So I left it there for about 16 hours, I think, before I worked on the cover again, or before I sewed it in, because you don't want to work with wet cardboard. It will rip and it will be crooked and it's just not nice. So I left it in my craft room with some papers in between it to soak up the liquid. And after that I will come back and tell you what I did next. Once the cover was dry enough to work with, I wanted, of course, to make it into a real cover, and you do this very carefully by moving the cover sides up and down and trying to prevent from the paper breaking, but I did still break the paper. But it's okay, but you just wiggle it up and down on a slow motion, not too fast, to let the paper adjust to its new form. And then I will start creating my signatures, which is always a very exciting part. So I decided that I wanted to have 3 signatures in this journal. I believe all of the signatures have 10 sheets of paper in there, and I chose some book pages, and these are some old pages. I got this little notebook from a thrift store or a second-hand store, and I really like the reds, and like this is what we used to use in school, so it's kind of old and vintagey kind of stuff. I don't know if it's real vintage, I don't really care about that, but I love the look of it, and I thought it would be perfect in Seher, her journal. Then I also took some note paper that I ripped out of one of my art journals, because my art journal was getting too fat, so I took these papers out. And I also have this big brown paper is packaging that I received in an order that I ordered online, and it was in the box. And when there's brown paper in there, I usually keep it and use it in my journals or in my art journal. And I also did that for my personal journal, so I thought I would also add that in Seher journal, because I also really like the look of craft paper. So now I'm deciding on which pattern papers I wanted to use. I picked 3 pattern papers for every signature. So one is for the outside of the signature as a starting point for the booklet, and 2 will be inside the signature. I also included 1 envelope that will go into the middle signature, and I also added 2 glassine bags for the other 2 signatures. So they're not identical, but they almost have the same content in there in each signature. So, and that's the way I like to do it. So now I will cut one of the papers to size to fit the journal as a template. That way I know how big I should rip the craft paper, because I also want to rip the paper. I don't want to cut it because I love the edges of ripped paper, and I thought it would give an extra feel, for, like a naturey kind of feel. So I'm cutting this paper up to size. I am mindful of the design, so I'm measuring out where I want to cut pieces off, and then I will fold it in half. Or no, I don't fold it in half for this part. I use it as a template, as you see right now. I will set my ruler next to it, and then I will start ripping the paper to make my pages. And I could take 4 pages out of one of these strips of paper, which was really great. So as the middle signature was still missing something, I added 2 of the brown papers in the middle, I believe. So yeah, this is very easy to do. Just rip your paper, and if you make another tear in your paper, it doesn't matter, because that is the beauty of a junk journal. And especially if you already ripped your paper, it gives more of a handmade feel. So it doesn't have to be perfect, and that's also why I love to make these journals. They're just a lot of fun to do. So after I am done ripping these paper, I'm going to take my atlas. I also got this from a secondhand store. It was already breaking and stuff, so I took it further apart, and I was deciding on what I wanted to use in Seher journal, because there are also different things in this book, like these satellite images or statistics or text and images. There are different things in this book, so I was deciding what I wanted to use, but I ended up using a real map page, and I was mindful of what I chose for Seher, because Seher is Turkish and I still had a part left of a Turkish map, so I took, of course I had to add that into her journal. I love to do these little tiny things people love into their mail or into a journal. So I took a piece of the Turkish map. I was lucky that I still had a part of that, because I use this map paper quite often. So I really wanted to add that into her journal. And the funny thing was that these cutting these pages in half was the exact height of the journal, which is always like, what? So yeah, I cut everything in half, and I used 3 map pages because I have 3 signatures. And the other one, I don't know what I did with the other one. I think it's maybe in my scrap bin or in the book itself again. So yeah, now I decide on, yes, this is what I want to have in my signatures. And I'm counting my papers. If they are all equal, they are, and I'm stacking them aside and work on one signature at a time. So first of all, I will of course cut off the excess paper and cut these papers to size. And the same here with the first one, I am mindful of the design. And after that I will fold everything in half and also cut off pieces of papers that are too big. didn't cut all of the excess paper off. The paper on the sides on the 2 lined pages, these ones that are laying here, I will fold them inside like a flap, so you can fold the flap out, and I will fold them in different ways. I really like that because it makes it a bit more interactive. So I only cut the other pages to size, and these I will just fold them in, and I will show you that as well. So I'm here assembling my signatures, and I do this by just slipping in the papers and flipping through it like I'm doing right now, and thinking, is this how I like it, or do I want to switch some papers around? And I will continue this process until I'm happy, and I will do this for all the signatures that I am going to add in this journal. I don't know, it doesn't have a specific rhyme or reason, it's just more what is pleasing to my eye. And I will continue this for all the signatures. So this signature has the envelope in the middle, and I wanted to show you how I cut the envelope in the middle in a bit of a triangle. I fold it in half first, and then I cut a triangle on both sides until the middle, so I can take this little piece out and it will not mess with opening and closing once it is bound into the journal. Now I will repeat the process for this signature and the last one as I did with the first one. Happy with my signatures and the order of the papers in it, and now I'm going to fold in the flaps like I said. So I'm just going to fold them in different ways. I make sure that they are inside the journal, so I use the side of the papers as my guide, and I need to fold it at least within that measurement. They can be shorter, but they cannot be longer. And I will do this for all the journals, so once I both fold in, or I do a zigzag or something else, and that made for such a cool interactive page. And I know Seher already used some of these pages in her journal, so that's really cool to see, and that is what I'm going to do for all of these signatures right now. Now I will cut off the excess paper on the sides of the booklet so that it will not hang out of my journal. And I just take my ruler and cut along the side of it, and I don't press it too hard. If it takes 3 times to cut everything, it takes me 3 times to do so. Just be patient with it and try to cut straight. I don't always do so, but it doesn't matter. And this is how I create my signatures. Notice that I sometimes take the folded pages out because I don't know if I would cut the fold off. So that would be a shame if I would, because it's such a cool element to the journal. So I will take these pages out and just cut the rest of the excess off into a clean flush edge. And after that I am done with my signatures, and now it is time to make sure that they will stay together for the binding part. And I use binder clips for this. I try to put my paper straight and into the corner. I don't know how you call it, but I try to make them as compact as possible and ready for the sewing in part. So here is my journal cover again. and I will use my ruler to find where I want to put my holes. I try to keep the distance between the signatures equal, so I believe it's a centimeter or a centimeter and a half, something like that, and it will be a simple pamphlet stitch. I will make 3 rows with 3 lines so I can add my 3 signatures, and I just draw in these lines, and now I will find the middle point of this cover and 3 or 2 centimeters above and on the bottom side, and then I will find the points where they intersect, and that is where I will punch my holes. I hope this made sense. I'm losing my words. But yeah, I'm just going to punch my holes with this owl, and I will use the same measurements for my signatures as well. So for me it was 2 centimeters, 10.5 and 16, I believe, something like that. And I'm going to stick to punch holes in my signatures as well, so I can sew them into my cover. So once I did that, you can see the holes here very clearly. I am going to take some embroidery thread, and I like to take 3 times the size of my journal or the height of my journal, and I will take a needle and just start from the middle, go up, then go all the way down and go back into the middle again, and that is how I sew my journal. Leave the tail inside the journal. You can also choose to do it outside, but I like to do it inside. Like I said, there is another tutorial where I do this in real time, so I will leave that linked down below, and then I will take you through the sewing part completely and in more depth, but I really wanted to share the process for this one. So I will do this to all the signatures, and I chose this pinky salmon color for my embroidery thread because I thought it looked really nice with my journal. So the first signature, I sewed it in upside down, which happens, but don't worry about that. I just snipped the thread and I took it out again and sewed it back in the other way around. Because it was a bit silly that I put it in upside down, but it happens. So now I'm going through the journal, I'm checking if my pages are stuck, and I'm cutting the other side of the glassine bags open so that you have 2 pockets. So one on the side that already had the opening and one on the side that was closed but now open because I cut it open with my scissors. And this is just a check before I move on to anything else in the journal, if it is secure and if it looks good, and if, yeah, it's just a check for the pages and the sewing. So it looks good, and now it is time to add my embellishments. I put my own sticker there, and now I'm going to add some embellishments. So I really wanted this journal to have embellishments, but I didn't want to stick them down. I did make a pocket in the front with this journaling card that you see for Seher to put her name on and the date when she started the journal, when she finished it. I'm making this pocket with my WRMK memory keepers, trim and scoreboard. I just measure out a size, take 1 inch extra so I can score at ½ inch on all the 3 sides. You will see what I'm doing. So I believe I wanted the pocket to be 4 inches, so or 4.5, so I cut it at 5.5, and then I take ½ inch for the score line so I can glue it in properly, and I cut off the corners so it will not bulk up. It's very simple to do, very simple pocket. Then I will take my circle punch and punch out half a circle because I like the look of it, and glue it in there and add this journaling card for her in the front of her journal that she can use to put her information on there, or any information she wants in front of her journal. So that's the only thing that I glued down in this journal. All the other bits and pieces that I am going to add to her journal, which I wanted to add, are for her to use in the journal in her way. because I didn't want to decide for her which pages should have pockets, which pages shouldn't have pockets, or how it was decorated, or how she would use the journal. So I added these things with Paperclips, and I added things in the pockets, and I added a thing in the envelope, and just went through this basket with hand cut die cuts, because that is what you have to do when you buy an ACdigitals kit. You have to fussy cut everything yourself. I like to do this in the evening when I'm done working. Don't worry, I work from home right now these days. But I like to do it when I want to be a bit crafty but don't want to get into the craft room. I cut up digital kits. So I cut all of these up, and now I'm just going to spread them out through the journal for her to use, and I will let you watch this process until I have something to say again. Of course, I also want to add washi into her journal, because you all know how much I love washi tape. So I made these samples of camera on playing cards, and I have this die cut, or this die from Kaisercraft. All the supplies that I used are linked down below, by the way. So if you are searching for something that I used, it's probably down below linked, but at least listed. So I'm making these pockets, and in these pockets I will add the washi tape samples. And then I will also put these in the journal with a paper clip, so she can decide where she wants a pocket and it's like a goodie 2-in-1 because there is washi tape and a pocket for her in the style of papers that I already used. Then there's still one more thing left to do, and that is to add a ribbon as a closure. I like to add the ribbon under the sewing of my signatures, so you can swap it out if it breaks or you don't like it, you can take it off. But I also always like to include a closure because these journals can get pretty chunky, so it will be closed when you bind this lace together. So I learned this trick from someone who commented on my tutorial that you could use a paper clip to get the lace or the ribbon underneath your signature, and I was like, what? Why didn't I think of that? So I tried it that way this time, and it was much easier than I did last time. So that is a good tip. Thank you so much for the one who commented that on my video. And then this is the journal I made for Seher. I will flip you through this journal so you can see every page and what I did. And I hope you enjoyed this video. It's quite different from what I usually do, but I hope you liked seeing the process and my chatting. I want to thank you so much for watching. The coming videos will be more about the mail to Seher. There will be art journaling, there will be snail mail, and there will be mail art, so keep your eyes out for that. I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel, and if you like this video, please leave me a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye!